You know, it's never a good day when someone gets fired. Unless, of course, that person works for Disney Lucasfilm, then it's a very good day. Yes, welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and the individual, Justin Simeon, who will be writing, or who would have been writing, the new Lando the Pando series, because, yeah, everyone wanted a Lando Calrissian series since Disney has done such a bang-up job with the new canon over the last decade. Well, he did find out he got fired, but from who? Well, not Disney. Social media. Yes, Disney didn't even have the balls to tell him he'd been fired. Twitter did, or more importantly, the Direct did. So let's get into this article talking about his reaction to being fired and Disney not telling him. Let's get into it, shall we? Star Wars Lando writer reacts to sudden firing. Justin Simeon, and yes, Justin Simeon is a man of color. He is a black man, and let me tell you, there's probably no greater hell on earth than having the last name Simeon if you're black, for obvious reasons. The head writer, previously attached to Disney Plus' upcoming series Lando, finds out that he has been let go in a rather unfortunate way. Filmmaker Justin Simeon, who is set to create Disney Plus' standalone Lando-centric prequel to Star Wars, has just been dismissed from the project, and he reportedly heard the news at the same time as everyone else. Disney has recently announced that Donald Glover, the actor scheduled to reprise his role as Lando Calrissian on the show, and his brother Steven are assigned as writers to the much-anticipated Lando series. CBR, you gotta stop calling this stuff much anticipated. Disney Star Wars, much anticipated. Marvel's The Marvels, much anticipated. Nah, this shit ain't much anticipated. There's a reason Disney has lost almost $1 billion just in movies last year. Is because this stuff is not much anticipated, no matter how much you want to believe they are. As it turned out, Simeon, who was previously attached to the project, learned the executive decision on social media via the Direct. The writer first reposted this news to his Instagram stories with the caption, "This is me finding out right now," and later added the second story complimenting the Glover brothers on the new gig. Yeah, of course you did, because you can't just write the first one and then look all bitter and depressed like, oh right, I have to play ball so I can still get writing gigs later on in Hollywood if this strike ever lets up. If you're even, welcome back. I'm sure there was a reason Disney let you go. In fact, I think there is. We'll get to it here in a bit. So yeah, he can't come off looking bitter, but imagine how upset it must be to know that, Donald Glover is taking your spot, considering he's already the star of the show. Actually, imagine even more so, Donald Glover's brother taking your spot. Did anyone even know Donald Glover had a brother? Like, a lot of people don't realize that, Sylvester Stallone also had a brother who is almost famous as a one-hit wonder. Yeah, this Hollywood writer got outdone by the Frank Stallone of the Glover family. The second caption read, "Donald is a national treasure. Glad he and Steven get to carry the character forward their way. Can't wait to see. Rooting for everybody black." Which, if that doesn't say everything you need to about this guy, I don't know what does. Rooting for everybody black, because that's what you want from a writer who is attached to Star Wars. That's why I'm A-OK. In fact, ecstatic that this individual was fired from Star Wars, because I don't need my Star Wars being about race of any kind. Star Wars is about aliens and the human race and the struggles between good and evil. So yeah, if you got a writer attached who's willing to write on social media rooting for everybody black, clearly he cannot just appreciate things without the racial lens. That's someone you don't want writing for Star Wars. That's someone you don't want writing for any project that you may love, whether it be Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Magic the Gathering, anime, just any sort of nerd love that you have here in the West. You don't need someone who's willing to write on Twitter, Instagram in this case, rooting for everybody black, because that is so dismissive and shows that you cannot look at the world through any other way other than race. Like Star Wars is not an intrinsically white thing or an intrinsically black thing. What is there to even say that, is it going to be an all-black cast? Like a Lando show in Star Wars, I would imagine that's welcome to anybody of any culture, any color, any creed. So why are you only rooting for everybody black? That is the worst possible thing you could have said. Way to divide the Star Wars fan base further and show that, yes, it probably was a good thing that you got fired, since you clearly only care about pushing politics and agenda and a political message. Since Disney purchased and absorbed Lucasfilm, a string of creatives associated with Star Wars projects have quit or been fired, and Simeon seems to just be the latest in line. Just earlier this month, the filmmaker gave an upsetting update on Lando in an interview with The Direct. He talked about how much work he had already put into the series. Oh yeah, all that work. Remember guys, he's rooting for everybody black. Whatever work he had already put into the series, I don't think we wanted to see it. And admitted that he didn't have any new information on the potential release date, saying, "I certainly poured my heart and spent a lot of time working with them to put together a really great show." Yes, a really great show. A show where I imagine the script just said, Black Lives Matter, but in space, Black Lives Matter, but in space, Black Lives Matter, but in space, over and over and over. Kind of like that one kid that got admitted to college for just writing it on their college admissions paper. That's what I imagine someone who would write rooting for everyone black on an Instagram page would do to Star Wars. It feels like everybody loves it. You know, I was told we had to put a pause on it because of scheduling, and the next update I got was in 2020, some years ago. So I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with it. And if you think this dude is sounding like a whiner now, just wait. He says something just brilliant here in a moment. Simeon even reiterated the statement in another interview with The Hollywood Reporter released on July 27th, the same day Disney announced the Glovers' involvement as the writers in the Lando project. He then believed he was still attached to the series, but acknowledged that he didn't know when things would start moving. I mean, to be fair, no one would know. There's a writer's strike going on, isn't there? So are you saying that even if there wasn't a writer's strike, you wouldn't know? Because according to this, you have not heard from them since 2020. The writer's strike only started a few months ago. It's 2023. I know, yeah, COVID, all this, that, and the other, but I think if Disney was interested in your work, you probably would have heard from them sometime within the last 3 years. You're like that dude that got a fake number from a girl at the bar and just goes to sleep every night telling yourself she just mixed the numbers up by mistake and that she does really like you. The writer explained, I am attached, I think, but I don't really know. The last thing I was told was they loved it, but need to put a pin in it until they can figure out everybody's availability. I haven't investigated further, but I'm not an idiot. Oh, no. Anyone that would write on Instagram rooting for everybody black is, in fact, an idiot. I'm not alone in that experience, but I can't help but wonder, am I too black? Am I too queer?
You shouldn't talk. It makes you sound stupid.
And people just don't want to say that because it seems like I develop things with these companies and they just never happen for reasons unknown. Well, maybe you are too black or maybe you are too queer. Now, I want to go ahead and say the very obvious. There ain't nothing wrong with being black or queer and being a writer. However, if you are black or queer or some combination of all the above and all you can write about is your blackness and your queerness and you're trying to make a Star Wars show or really any show to a company that has lost over $900 million in the last year alone because of pushing these crappy identity politics, yeah, they probably literally did not bring you back because of your blackness and queerness, because that is all you seem capable of talking about. We're like 3 or 4 paragraphs in. I have not once seen a quote where he talks about his love for the character, his history with Star Wars, how he wants to bring something to the Star Wars universe that will get fans of all ethnicities and all races and all creeds and all religions excited about how they just want to bring Star Wars to the forefront again of people's minds. I've not heard anything other than wah, black, wah, homo. And you know what? I don't think Disney even wants individuals like that at this point because they're starting to feel it in their pockets. The Lando series does not have a release date yet. Of course, there's no release date yet. I don't even think this show is going to come out, or maybe it will come out, but let's be real. What was the last thing that Disney Star Wars made money on? What was the last thing that you were even excited for? Like, Ahsoka's coming out. There's a little bit of buzz about that. Does anyone care about The Acolyte? Does anyone care about Mando Season 3? The viewership for that fell off hard. Did anybody enjoy Obi-Wan Kenobi? Did anybody enjoy the Book of Boba Fett, except for the 2 episodes that were The Mandalorian Season 2.5 effectively? I mean, what has Disney done to get the fans excited and/or had to be put on other streaming services to get the numbers up because no one was watching it? Now, granted, the people who have watched it, I've actually heard very positive things about, which is probably more than I can say for anything except Mandalorian Season 1 and 2 from other general audience viewers. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Disney did in fact fire this guy precisely because of his blackness and queerness. Because if that is all you modern writers know how to write about, frankly, I hope this strike never ends. We are having the time of our lives creating content on YouTube right now and finding independent media and alternative forms of content to consume, whether it be in films, anime, video games, movies, comics, whatever. There are so many things that are coming out of the indie scene that people are lapping up, that's making real money, especially for the indie scene. And yeah, I don't think that's stopping anytime soon. In fact, the writer's strike is only making it better. But if the writers were to magically get all this patched up tomorrow and get back to making movies, the landscape has changed. I'm sorry. Disney has lost almost $1 billion in 1 year alone just on their films. That's not even accounting for how poorly their streaming numbers were when we found out that Bob Chapek had someone kind of fix those numbers on the books when they really weren't that great to begin with. The landscape has changed, and Disney, maybe they'll release Lando, or they might see the writing on the wall and just cancel this indefinitely. Those are my thoughts, at least. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on Twitter, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, not always about Star Wars, but also video games, anime, Magic the Gathering, you name it. It's all here in the Nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.